Отричаш ли се от сатаната и от всичките му дела, и от всичките му ангели, и от всичкото му служение, и от всичката му гордост?
Отричам се.
Отричам.
Облича се Божият раб, донал в дреката на правдата, в името на Отца и Сина и Светия Дух. Амин.
My name is Don Fernley. Most of you don't know me, probably don't care less about me. I just kind of want to, share a little bit of information with you about what war is really like. My primary job was search and rescue, which was you would go from ship to ship and be stationed on a ship, which I can't really tell numbers or names, but they ranged anywhere from a destroyer to aircraft carrier to just about any type of ship that was being used. And our primary mission was to rescue down pilots that managed to make it back to the ocean. We were responsible for rescues in the ocean and up to 5 miles inland in country. And then another branch of the service took over from there and did the rest of the rescues. A secondary job was jet mechanic, which was necessary because of flying helicopters. You had to be able to work on them and fly in them. As a crew chief, you're in charge of just about anything and everything that goes on in the aircraft. You had to be able to fly them in case the pilots got hurt, and you had to jump up and take over one of the positions. Generally, they flew with 2 pilots, fully qualified to fly the different types of helicopters. I flew in about 5 different helicopters during my time, and managed to make crew chief in each one of them. Your search and rescue schools normally run approximately 6-8 months of training. I was able to become certified NAUI scuba diver at the same time. And this was a situation that I decided to get into also with the search and rescue because I thought it would come in handy in case a situation should arise where we had to go underwater to try to rescue somebody. Everybody knows what's going on right now. And there's a few of us still left around from some of the other wars that happened. Vietnam was not pretty for anybody. When I first started off, I went in with the intentions of trying to help people. I wanted to make a difference in the war. I wanted to help end it as fast as possible. Too many people were losing their lives for what seemed to be a useless reason. It was to prove a political point of some type. You never imagine that you're going to kill somebody. Thought really never crosses your mind until the first round hits right next to you. And then you realize somebody off in the distance is shooting bullets at you, and they're not blanks, they're real. And they have one intention in mind, to kill you. And it's just, it never crosses your mind, even when you go through basic training or anything else. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be going through a jungle. I'm going to be in a desert. I'm going to have bombs going off all around me. I'm going to see parts of people right next to me just go into pieces. Arms, legs. See their guts flying all over because they stepped on a landmine or their legs blowing off. The sad part is, if it's grown-ups doing this, that's one thing. And if there's a real reason for it, not, oh, well, you've got more land than I do, or you have more oil than I do, or I don't particularly like your beliefs, and we figure you're keeping a terrorist group or guerrillas in your country and training them. There's a reason that all this goes on. But the really sad part about all of this is the innocent people that get hurt. In some countries, men become soldiers because they're required to. It's a way of paying for their freedom. You go in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force for a certain period of time, and this kind of helps pay for your country's freedom because you're protecting your country. Price of freedom sometimes is death, and that's not a pretty picture because of the fact it's not just the grown-ups fighting. They're small children, 7, 8, 9 years old, that are being taught how to fight, how to kill. And for what? They haven't even begun to live yet. And they're taught real small how to go out and kill somebody. And that's sad. Man's basic instinct when they're backed into a corner is one of two things. It's either they're going to fight or they're going to run. Crazy thing about war is you're taught to fight, but when you're outnumbered, sometimes you don't have a choice but get the heck out of there. Run. Your main thing is to be able to survive. And boy, I'll tell you, when you hear all the rounds going off and the bombs and people screaming, that's the first thing that goes through your mind is, I want to survive. Surviving's one thing. Sometimes you end up in a bad situation and you get captured. And unfortunately, as a prisoner of war, you don't really have much rights. And some of the torture that you go through is, you can't believe it. One situation that I remember really well was an individual who had his hands and arms tied behind him. And then he had a steel cage put over his head with a little door in the front. Not much room, maybe about like that, going all the way around. And it was strapped around his neck. We were all freshly captured. Didn't know what was going on. Beaten a lot, yelled at, screamed at, trying to understand what they were telling us. This poor POW had no clue what was going on. I don't know if many of you know anything about rats, but I tell you, they don't like water. They took this guy and had a rope around him underneath his arms, put him down up to here in the water, in the river. And he kept telling him, talk, tell us what we want to hear. And typically you're trained not to say anything. Give your name, rank, and serial number, and that's it. Yeah. Our captors had about enough, and they wanted to make an example out of him, so they took this big rat, shoved it inside of the cage. They opened the door, put it inside of the cage. Made the rest of us watch what went on. Like I say, Rats don't like water, and they're going to find a way to get out, a way to get out of that cage, because they kept lowering him deeper and deeper into the water. And as the water got up to the rat's feet, the rat started clawing its way and chewing its way through his cheek, then into his mouth, then down his throat, and chewed his way out. I don't tell you things like this on the news. I don't tell you what it's like to be a prisoner of war. I don't tell you the tortures that you go through. What it's like to see your fellow man have his fingernails ripped down from under, right off his hands. Or how to be put on a table and have the bottom of his feet beaten with a stick until he can't even walk on them anymore. Each person has his own thoughts, his own beliefs of why he's there. If you're in the medical field, you go because you feel you're going to do something, you're going to save lives, you're going to help put people back together. It depends on what your job is. Unfortunately, the soldiers that are on the front line, they don't have too much of a choice. They're told, go take that hill, or go take that hill. Go down that valley and sweep it out. They're not told that there's going to be landmines, booby traps, snipers, no matter where they are. They're just told, go take it. And in war or in the military, if you don't do what you're told or ordered to do, then you suffer the consequences. Dishonor, disgrace, discharge, things like that. So they put you between a rock and a hard spot of, do I really have a choice? You know, you do. You either go shoot, or in some cases you'll get shot. One nation fighting another nation, it's the leaders of the nation have to come together and talk more, be more open with each other, not jump immediately and want to go to war. Religion has a lot to do with it. Everybody who comes together in a religious service has the ability to sit there and voice their opinion. Just one opinion might not affect the whole war or the whole situation, but it's the voice of many that can change history. It's the voice of many that could take the smoke from the fire behind me of war and finally put it out for total worldwide peace. Just smelling the smoke reminds me of war. Smell of napalm, smell of bombs going off, dust all over the place, debris falling on your head from a bomb or an artillery round hitting. Learn to try to get along. Learn to love your fellow man, not hate him because he might have something a little better than you have, or have more oil or more land. The basic instinct of people is, I like to think, try to help one another. Nobody likes to see someone die of starvation, especially little babies who are starving because political problems. More effort was put into peace and helping everybody worldwide, there wouldn't be any reason for war. It's the greed of those few small people to have everything, no matter what the cost, is what affects everybody in the world. And I think we're all seeing that right now. The hard thing is, on an individual basis, you have a voice and you can voice your opinion. But as one person, it's really hard to get through to the people who are at the top that are initiating all this, the war, the hate, and everything else. But if you come together as a group, like what I've seen, women whose children have been injured in the war, not just Vietnam or Korea, World War II, all the wars, all the mothers came together in one big rally a few days ago, and they voiced their opinions, and it's now starting to be heard by the leaders of the country. Philosophers and theologians have, speculated for many, many years. What's the reason for life? I like to think that you cherish life on a day-to-day, second-by-second, minute-by-minute basis, because you never know at what point your life is going to be finished here. You don't know who's going to take it out. You don't know who's going to end it. You don't know if you go into war, if you're going to come out of it alive. I feel that if you live life and try to accomplish at least one good thing worthwhile every day, then that day has been fulfilled. Whether it be help an elderly woman across the road, or smile at a child when you give them a piece of candy, or bend down and pet a dog that's out on the street and belongs to nobody. Or to come home to your wife and give her a hug and say, I really love you because you're you. You're really special. And if each person in the world just took care of their own front porch and kept it clean, there wouldn't be all these problems. And if each person loved everybody else like they love themselves, who knows? We might never have war again. There's so much more for us to do. There's an entire world to feed. Why fight over a little piece of land? As the sun comes up in the morning in the east, and they have a full day ahead of them, instead of thinking of fighting, think of peace. And try everything humanly possible during the day to achieve that goal worldwide. And as the sun sets, as it's doing now, focus back on the day and take a tally of all the things that you've done to try to accomplish peace. Whether it be going out to your neighbor and ask for their forgiveness because you got upset with them, or their dog was barking too loud, or their children were playing in your yard. Children are children. Let them play. The main thing is just try to accomplish worldwide peace. And know that when the sun sets, you've done your best for all mankind.